All right, I'm going to make a video here addressing some concepts related to inflammation and autoimmune disease. I just had a conversation with a patient this morning. These things kind of come up relatively frequently, and these are deep topics. So there's a lot to go over, and I'm just going to do this on the fly. It would take time to get a lot of information together and really address a topic like this, but they're so common, they're so significant that I just feel like I need to get some information out there on this. So this will tie in a little bit to chronic inflammation and a bit into autoimmune, and of course there's some crossover in those things. So I'm going to show you a few things here, no particular order, just on the fly. So if this is something you're dealing with, rheumatoid arthritis, various autoimmune things, thyroiditis, autoimmune thyroid stuff, chronic inflammatory stuff, chronic pain, arthritis type of pain, things with chronic pain, there's going to be some relevance here to you. So first thing is, anytime you have a problem in your health, two of the main things we want to look at of why do we have a problem? And society will tell you all about genetics and germs and all these kind of things and stuff that are out of our control and whatnot. But we always want to look at two significant things. One is toxicity, and a good portion of illness has to do with toxicity. We have so many synthetic chemicals in the world that we're exposed to in various ways, that toxicity in its various forms is a huge part of why people become ill and become sick, right? And as relates to autoimmune, that's a term that I think is actually a foolish term to use. I know I'm not an immunologist, but just from nature, the idea that your body's attacking itself is a pretty stupid idea. That's not what nature does. You have an immune system that defends itself. And so if there is something happening with the immune system, it's responding to something, probably something that just has come into the body from the outside, from food, toxins, synthetic chemicals, all these kind of things. And then that may be the trigger that then, creates a chronic immune response that gets called autoimmune, but the idea that the body's attacking itself is somewhat foolish. So we need to try to detoxify to get, to stop putting toxins in, and work with our body in its own internal mechanisms to cleanse out what has been put in there, so that we purify the body, right? So the opposite, solution to toxicity is purification, right? And that's a whole deep topic in and of itself. Second thing to be aware of is deficiency. There are certain things that are required for a person to be healthy. If you don't have them, you're not healthy. You get into dietary things. There are certain nutrients the body needs to deal with inflammatory things. There are certain nutrients that are not part of the the stuff on the labels, the vitamin D's and the A's and all these kind of stuff. It's not on there. There are plant chemicals, maybe even chemicals from animal foods, that clearly are involved with disease incidence, prevention of disease, but they might not be labeled. They might not be well known. So you could look under the term phytochemicals and things like that, non-nutritive plant-based chemicals that are very significant in relevance to disease. So we want to look at that toxicity and deficiency element. So I'm giving you that as a brief backdrop and how to look at when you have a problem. Start to look at what are the toxins involved with your illness, where do they come from, get out of that environment, and then how do you cleanse the body of those? What kind of nutrients, herbs, other things, dietary conditions, how can you actually cleanse the body of those nutrients, right? I would also look at what known nutrients that the body needs are involved in these processes, so you can make sure that if you don't have them, you supplement with them, and look at your dietary status of things as well, and try to change the diet and all that kind of stuff. So that's a bit of a background. Let's get into a few specific things here real quickly. First off, this is talking about curcumin, which is the medicinal extract of the turmeric root. A very, very well studied, the mechanisms are well understood and how this ties into inflammatory things. This is talking about in lupus, autoimmune issues, of how curcumin impacts immune cells in that. It is significant, okay? This is talking about a nutrient commonly called NAC, N-acetylcysteine, how this affects the breakdown of joints and cartilage by the immune system, or certain cells in rheumatoid arthritis. So on X-ray, people with advanced rheumatoid arthritis, they can get kind of erosions and breakdown of cartilage and bone and things like that. So there's this breakdown of body tissue that happens in rheumatoid arthritis, and so some of these nutrients tie into that, the inflammatory mechanisms and whatnot that kind of lead to that, right? Mast cells, this is another big thing. These similar mechanisms can be involved in cognitive issues as well. Mast cell syndrome is something I talk about extensively in my book, Life After Lyme Disease, and also my program on Lyme disease. Also ties in with long COVID and issues as well. But there's this mechanism of chronic immune activation. It's a type of allergy type of mechanism, the way the mast cells work. So that's a kind of different topic here. Okay, so some things that can be done to help with that. This is a product I have a good bit of experience with. Has a turmeric extract, also has the N-acetylcysteine, also has some other nutrients like these. A lot of people have heard of resveratrol from red wine and those kind of things, but there are other plants that have this resveratrol, also very powerful in these mechanisms. Some of these tea extracts have this EGCG. These are very powerful antioxidants that tie into some of the same pathways. So if I was dealing with something like an autoimmune condition, I would absolutely be taking these plant-based nutrients that we know tie in to some of the effects of that, at the same time that I'm trying to actually cleanse the body of certain toxins that are involved with that disease process. Okay. Another thing to be very significant is the body's natural anti-inflammatory mechanisms are, those molecules are made from fats, and when we consume a lot of grain or a lot of certain types of fat, or get an imbalance of good fat, bad fat, omega-3, omega-6, you hear these kind of things there, that leads to what is commonly called a pro-inflammatory state. And that can be changed very, very significantly with supplementation, and certainly want to look at changing the diet away from grains and more to green foods and animals or meats that are eating grass as well. Same thing with fish, eating wild fish that are eating algae and stuff instead of farm fish that they're feeding grain to fatten them up. There's a blood test you can do, finger prick blood test. This company, Omega Quant, is the one I use, and you can get an idea of your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. This ties into the pro-inflammatory versus the anti-inflammatory fats, and these are essential nutrients. Your body cannot make certain types of fats, so they're called essential fatty acids. Other types of fats it can make, but these are things that have to be consumed. Otherwise, your body has problems and can manifest as certainly cardiovascular disease, vessel disease that can tie into other things as well. It can also look at the trans fat. So when you're eating processed foods, margarines, these other kind of things. If you have a high level of trans fats, you can have all kinds of problems with that as well. So these are good tests to do, and they tie into the inflammatory pathways of the body, chronic inflammation, and things that tie into this. So supplementing with omega-3 type of fats, these are some products from the company Standard Process, which I have a lot of experience with, though there are other good companies as well, are things that you can do to then get that inflammatory state to change, and then you can follow up, test, and see when you're at good levels, and maybe change the dosages to maintain, right? This is talking about curcumin or turmeric and how it where it goes in the pathway of inflammatory molecules, and how those eventually lead to breakdown of cartilage in the body, and where curcumin ties into that pathway and things. So take-home message from this is, let me show one more thing here. There's quite a bit known about certain environmental toxins that tie in with diseases. Just as a quick overview here, these are not my areas of expertise, but certain pollutants, toxins might be involved with certain autoimmune illnesses. This is talking about volatile organic chemicals with rheumatoid arthritis. There are other things. So if somebody's background, maybe they had a job where they're around certain chemicals, maybe they're in farming where they use certain sprays or things, and then you inhale those. These kind of things can tie into that. This is something talking about risk factors for arthritis, and some of them certain toxins that are known to do that. Some of those might come from smoking or things. I would also say that taking antibiotics is a risk factor. It changes the microorganisms that live in the body, can change the inflammatory state, and certain drugs, there is going to be an effect from that, a toxic effect that can lead to these immune activation syndromes. So a lot to take in here. Just trying to do a quick overview if this is something you're dealing with, of some things to get your mind on the right track of finding what toxins are associated with what you're going through. Limit those, and then start to figure out, study detoxification and things like that to cleanse the body. What nutrients might your body be missing? They're clearly involved in chronic immune issues and or inflammatory issues. Supplement with some of those things. Change the diet. Another big thing I didn't talk about here is absolutely 100% for sure, if you're dealing with any of this stuff, you got to try to totally eliminate genetically modified foods from your diet. They're bad news all around. If anybody tells you anything, they're horrible for you. That's always been known. You could go look at documentaries and or books that have talked about the corruption and that's happened to get those things approved. So absolutely first tier defense dietary, remove any genetically modified organism that you can. So that's a little whirlwind of just stuff to get you going here. I hope this is helpful to somebody out there. If you found anything valuable in this or have any questions, just message us or let me know.